The Christian Association for Survivors of Suicide Loss is pleased to present our podcast, Reaching for Hope with Joy Osborne. Let's join Joy and her guests as they discuss topics of relevance for emotional and spiritual wellness.
Hi, listeners. Thank you for joining us this month. I've got a good friend with me, Diana Villa, and she is somebody I have known for a little over a year now, and she is part of the Wounded Warriors Project, and I wanted to learn more about it because I have had a spouse who was in the military, and I really appreciate those who help others, especially those who are wounded and need help and encouragement. So I'm really excited to hear more about this, Diana. So thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Joy, for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, it's always fun, isn't it? Never a dull moment with us, is there?
Nope.
So I wanted to know a little bit more, maybe about your background, maybe before we get started, and of course, how you got involved with the Wounded Warrior Project. So if you want to share a little bit about that, I think the viewers and myself would love to hear that.
Okay. So I am a 4-year veteran, but pre 9/11. The Wounded Warrior Project focuses on post 9/11 veterans. My journey started, I would say, with my own brokenness. My husband had been medically discharged from the Army. He was not doing so well. The way that we exited the military was different than most people. And I found myself very lonely. I assumed the identity of the roles that I was doing. So during that time, I was a caregiver to my husband. I was homeschooling my children. And I got to the point where I felt like I was just a caregiver. I stopped dreaming. I stopped having goals. It was just a day-to-day routine. I even felt like I was no longer the spouse. I was just caring for him. And that brokenness, it was like I was camping there. I just stayed there. And funny enough, I was working out. I felt like I had to do something for myself. So I was just working out of my home. It was a virtual workout. And I was listening to a sermon that day. And as I was listening to that sermon, the speaker asked, "Have you ever been broken?" And I raised my hand as if she could see me. I'm like, "Here, me, you're talking to me." And then she proceeded to say, "Have you ever been broken, but so broken that there's nothing left of you?" And I said, "That is me. She is talking to me. She knows what I'm going through." As a matter of fact, right before that workout, I had said to God, I said, "I am broken beyond repair." Those were my words. So I knew she was talking to me when she said that. And she went on to say, "I'm not talking about the brokenness that you can piece together, you can glue it. I am talking about that brokenness that there's nothing left of you but dust." At that moment, forget the workout. I just fell on my knees and I was sobbing. And I said, "It's me. That is me." And in that moment of brokenness, on my knees, just sobbing, she continued and said, "Out of all the things that God could have used to create a man, he used dust." And those words were just like that little spark of hope that I needed. I got up and I said, "Okay, there's hope. There is hope, and I'm going to get up, and God can make something new in me."
That's great.
And it was like a week later. I said, "I don't want anyone else to go through what I went through. I don't want anyone else to feel this broken or to feel hopeless and to feel alone. I want to walk with those people." And it stirred up in me having that, I don't know, desire to one day have my own nonprofit organization that would help veterans, that would help those spouses, that would help people where I was. And I just went on Google. True story. I just Googled it and I said, degrees to open a nonprofit organization. And I found organizational leadership. with a concentration in coaching and mentoring. And I was so afraid to get started.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband said, just jump.
Mm-hmm.
So I did. I started my graduate studies, and I saw I was recovering while I was being a beneficiary from the programs that Wounded Warrior had. I get a phone call one day, and they asked, how would you like to be a volunteer for a pilot program that helps the spouses of wounded warriors? And there was no hesitation. I said, absolutely. It had been kind of like part of my prayers. Like, how do I help others?
It's wonderful. I know for me, my first husband, who's since passed, he was a veteran, and he also was medically discharged, just like you're saying. And I noticed that there wasn't anything there for people, that was helping them. I didn't know about this program. I wish I had. So I'm really excited to learn more about it. So tell me a little bit about the Wounded Warrior Project. What do they do?
So their mission is to honor and empower our warriors. But at the same time, they invest in helping now the spouses, the children, and they have so many programs from events to get those warriors out of that isolation that sometimes we go. It's a difficult transition. Getting out of the military is difficult.
Yeah, me too.
And it takes for some people, it takes a couple of years. Others are fortunate enough to transition very well, but for the most part, it is difficult. So they offer so many programs from physical health to mental health, health and wellness, resume building, career help. They have a variety of programs.
That's really great.
Yes.
I'm glad because, as you know, in our organization, we work with people who have lost loved ones to suicide, and we see the rates of suicide for vets, and it's astounding. You can find, depending upon what stats you're looking at it, what time and what year, it's like 22 to 44 people a day we're reading are taking their lives. And it's very, very sad. So I'm glad there's something that's in place for people to be able to be part of, to make them feel like they're part of a team. Because I know I wasn't in the military. I think you were,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes, I was.
And so that camaraderie.
Yes.
We're doing things as a team. We're doing things as a group. We're making a difference and protecting or whatever it might be that they were doing in the military. It was, you're being told what to do, how to do and such. And then you come out of that, you're like, oh, what do I do now? And that's what I experienced from my husband. Yeah. And it sounds like yours as well.
We did too. We kind of went through that transition of saying, okay, we're not active duty military anymore and we're not civilians. So where do we belong?
Where you fit. Yeah.
Who's our community now? Where's that camaraderie that you were talking about?
Right. And the Wounded Warrior program, is that nationwide?
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
So there's
and even overseas.
Oh,
yes.
That's good.
Absolutely. Active duty and post 9/11 veterans can join the program. It's free for them. Every resource that we have, it's at no cost to the
that's
veteran.
Wonderful to know.
Yes. And the spouses as well can benefit, and their children.
Great.
Yes.
That is wonderful. So does the organization, I know you said that you have a lot of programs, do they have any programs on mental health, helping people? Because we know that a lot of people who take their lives or get in a spot or get down and depressed, that's a mental health type situation. Do they offer any assistance when it comes to mental health or groups they can get into?
Yeah. So part of the empowering portion is like to get those veterans. And if you just even take a look at the logo, it's beautiful. I love that logo because you see it's a soldier carrying another soldier or a service member carrying another service member. And it's sometimes we're going to be the ones carrying and sometimes we're going to be the one having to be carried. And that's the beautiful part about it. Like most of the volunteers that do what I do, we were being carried at some point of time.
That's good.
So now we get to help others and now we get to do the carrying. And And so that's why we love what we do as volunteers, because it's like we get to give back from what we have received. But yes, there is help for mental health. I've been a beneficiary of that. I mean, at some point, I started when in my valley of brokenness, I just wanted to vent sometimes. I don't think I was ready for the mental health. Sometimes you have that stigma.
Yes, I was going to say that.
Sometimes you go there and you feel like, oh, they're going to medicate me. So I was like, no, but I wanted to vent. And they had a program that it was called the WWP. It's WWP. We say it, WWP Talk, the talk program. And it was just somebody would give you a call every week just to check up on you and you could vent. I mean, it was like, and I started with that.
Oh, good.
And later when I needed and was ready for mental health, then I sought that and I received it.
Yeah, because then, like you said, the stigma of getting help. I know a lot of people I've spoken to who have served. It's sort of like, well, should I even be asking for help? Is it mean am I weak because I'm wanting to get help? And I hope that people are realizing that doesn't mean you're weak. It means you care about yourself, enough about yourself to ask for help. And it's okay.
Yes.
Makes you stronger. And it's okay.
Absolutely. I think it makes you such a better person.
I agree.
It does. It's like, and that's something, I think that's part of the transition, Joy. Because, I mean, when I was in the military, it was suck it up and drive on. We were told that. So you may not get those chances to feel and work out whatever it is that you had to work out. So you just suck it up and you drive on. You just put a Band-Aid and keep on moving, right? And then there was a stigma of mental health because it was like, oh, if you're seeking mental health, then you're not performing. But now I don't care at any point if I'm needed. I raise my hand and do it because that means that I'm taking care of me so that I can take care of others and provide the best gift of my talent and my purpose and give that to others. When I'm well, then I can give the best of me.
Yeah, that's good. It's sort of like fix yourself and then help others. It's sort of like military in a way, isn't it?
Yeah.
You do help others. You help others, but sometimes you have to help one another in battle. Yeah. And this is a different kind, I don't want to call it a battle, but a different type of a environment, a different experience. And so I love that. So you have men and women in this program, correct?
Oh, yes. Okay. Absolutely.
That is wonderful. What about, I know you said groups. So are there groups for married couples? Maybe one is not been in the military and the other one has. Is that any of the programs for them, or is it individual or both?
So a lot of our volunteers have peer support groups, and it's just for veterans.
Okay.
So on my side, we have the same, but it's for the spouses, but not necessarily the spouses. We have mothers that are caregivers, and we have husbands. So whoever takes that role of being that caregiver or that support person for that veteran has a support group.
That is wonderful. And so how can somebody get involved in this? Do you have the website that they can go to? Can you provide that?
Yes, you can definitely, donations, but I encourage you, if you have resources, if you know of a veteran, please pass that information to them. I'm always on the lookout. I see a veteran, I'm always like, hey, have you heard of this? Because I know the benefits that it's had on me and the other volunteers that I work with, and so many other people. Even sharing your resources, asking them how I can be of assistance. A veteran, you don't know what they're going through. A lot of it, unfortunately, is like shame. A lot of our veterans are struggling with PTSD or anxiety, and maybe they don't know how to explain it to a civilian. A civilian may not understand what they're going through. And you may carry that shame, like, what are they going to think of me? Oh, they will never understand. And I fell under that, like, oh, either I'm going to be judged or nobody will understand. But what I had to come to the conclusion is that if I wanted to get out of this rut, if I wanted for things to change, I had to not only ask for help, But I also had to make room for other people. There were civilians that cared enough to carry me under the wing. As a matter of fact, when I moved here, they were all civilians. And I had to get rid of that mentality that, oh, they don't know what I've gone through. They don't care. And perhaps they don't know what I went through, but they were willing. They were willing to help. So, I speak, I guess, for the civilians to open themselves up to listen with your heart, be open and say, be of service. How can I help you? I have so many caregivers that cannot attend some of the events because they don't have anyone to watch their veterans for a couple of hours. If we can just be a community and be of service for each other, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I know when I was going through that, how do I support my spouse? How do I help him through that transition, I'll say, through that feeling like he's a failure because he had his body wouldn't hold up to what he was going through. And I'd always wanted to have somebody to talk to, but I didn't know. And like I said, now he was pre 9/11. So I didn't know if there was any. So I'm grateful now they have this organization and being there for each other, because it's okay to get help. Like we said, we need each other. This is part of helping. Like the military, you're there to help and protect. This is another way you can help and protect yourself from not getting into that space of feeling, the isolation. Obviously, that's a choice, but to get outside your comfort zone, like you said, to be around others that, hey, I'd go to places and I'd talk and I'm like, well, they do understand to a point, or sometimes they're giving me encouragement. They don't even really know what I'm going through, So I really like that you have this where you're working with the women and the men. I know you said you focus more on the women's side. Okay, so there's some for the spouse and some for the others. So that's good. What kind of events do you have? Can you explain a few?
I mean, anything that the needs of the spouses are a little different than the ones for the warriors. We just need that time for ourselves. We just want to disconnect from the daily, I guess, pressures that we have to endure. So we're just we just want to disconnect. We just want some time for me.
Right.
That sometimes we don't even know what that looks like.
Okay.
I was asked that question and when I was going through that season, and I said, what do you like? And I had no response to that. I don't even know what I like anymore. I don't. I stopped and I had to start somewhere. So the events that I put, they vary. It's all about self-care or sometimes even empowerment. So it could be something as, let's go out and get our nails done or our hair done. Some of them have not had a chance to leave their house or to get pampered, to say, I'm going to take this moment just for me and put everything else on pause. Yeah, I mean, it varies. We can go out to dinner. It could be going out to get our nails done. It could be watching a movie. We have virtual events as well. It is just, and then what I love to do is empowering those spouses who have a skill and are so good at something that they can teach a class virtually. So it empowers them, getting them oh, I'm so good at doing this. So they can teach a class. Using their gifts and talents. And then the rest of us learn about it. It was beautiful. We actually had one that it was a clay earrings. And one of her spouses was an expert at creating those. And she taught the class virtually. Wounded Warrior Project provided all the supplies for the spouses. So we all did it virtually. And some women learned and made this a business,
That's
so
wonderful.
So it takes our minds out of the daily struggles and it gives us that time for ourselves. And I learned through this process to partner with my community.
That's great.
So my church has been a great resource. I've went to a homeschool mom that I know they have several Airbnbs. And I wanted to do an event for the spouses. I asked her, I said, would you donate, time from your Airbnb that I could use it to have an event?
That's wonderful.
She was delighted.
Oh, great.
And we were able to and I had volunteers from my church willing to serve these spouses. It was amazing. And that's what I talk about, those partnerships.
Right.
That, yes, it could be monetary, but if you have other resources that we could use.
It's good. It's good.
I mean, It's wonderful.
So how would they get a hold of you, but also getting involved in the Wounded Warrior Project and get on a list?
Well, there is a 1-800 number on the website. The website is the best place to go. But we have an office in Tampa.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
you can go there as well.
Yes. So you can contact somebody in Tampa and say, my job as a volunteer, I deal with the spouses program, and it's a volunteer position. Yes.
So is it the Wounded Warrior website?
Yes.
Okay.
Wounded Warrior Project.
They could Google that. They could look on that and, see all the things that are provided and who to contact. And so if they do, somebody will call them, right? Do they sign up and then somebody contacts them, or how does that work?
People that want to help in that capacity. I can only speak for what I've been doing as a volunteer. Yep. However, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's somebody in our Tampa office that if you say, hey, I want to help whoever's doing the events for the spouses group, because my target are this side of town, like Manatee County, Tampa, Riverview, Apollo Beach, even, we have some in Venice that, it's still part of my area. Yeah.
So if they go on that site, is your name there, or is it just you would contact the women, or how does that look?
If you call the office, the Tampa office, and you tell them my name, yes, they'll be able to get a hold of me.
If you want that. I know there's probably others that are volunteers.
Oh, absolutely. I have my dear friends in Orlando, and then do their thing also on that side of town.
Okay.
And that would be amazing too. So if you have resources over there, that would be helpful. We have somebody in Jacksonville, and I have somebody in Ocala.
Oh, good.
Yes.
That is wonderful. So what have been some of the biggest challenges that you have seen since you've been in this role?
That shift of mindset, that isolation is a big thing. I don't think we realize how much more vulnerable we are when we are in isolation. I mean, sometimes the best image that I can picture is that of a prey and a predator. It's like when we are isolating, we're an easy prey.
Absolutely.
We're easy prey for our thoughts, for that trauma to just come hunting down, for those limiting beliefs. And I feel like that's where the enemy just wants to keep us. It's like if you can isolate and just listen to those voices, you're going to stay there. So it's that step of taking action and doing the work and saying, I want to get well. Because there's help. There's help, and there's people that are willing to help and want to help.
That's good.
And it's kind of like changing that mindset that whatever happened, you don't have to stay there.
Right. That they know that people do care about them. And that even in the military, you're not one. You're a group. So why not, when you're coming out, or even if you're in active military and you want, you're wounded or, recovering, getting around people like you would in a brigade or your unit or whatever it might be you're in, it's never just one. You're together. You're there helping each other. So reaching out during this time is critical, like you even mentioned. But we know that as Christians, that God uses us in all capacities. I love the verse that is part of our organization that, and just in Joy's way of saying it, that we go through things and overcome to help other people.
Absolutely.
Because then you are more sympathetic, not to say others are not, but you can relate, you have empathy for those people, and that you do care about each other, your brothers and sisters in the military, but brothers and sisters in Christ as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I truly believe on that. And, through my own journey and as a coach, I believe that there's purpose in the pain. Had I not gone through my own valley of darkness and brokenness, I wouldn't be in this position helping others. And that's a gift. That's a gift that my pain gave me. And I will embrace it to help other people.
That's good.
So everybody that is in that place of isolation, you have so many gifts and talents. You have been created with a purpose, and people need you. We need you. So you can get well and then carry that load and help somebody else. That's what we go through. I heard this quote and saying that we are the most qualified person to help the person we used to be.
Oh, I love
And
that.
yes, we
That's good.
are.
That's
I
good.
went through that brokenness so that I can help someone else.
That is really, really good. I love that. That is wonderful. So, does the Wounded Warrior Project collaborate with other organizations?
Yes, they do. I don't know them all at the top of my head, but yes, they do collaborate with a lot of other organizations.
Okay. So people could all actually see that on the site as well if
Yes.
they wanted to know
They're
more
partners.
details of that. They're partners. That's great.
Absolutely.
So how can others be involved? I know you said just helping, but what if they wanted to get in a position of helping you or helping others, just being volunteers for the organization? How would they go about that?
They can donate to Wounded Warrior Project.
Okay.
The other ways of helping, I don't know if they're appropriate for the organization, but as for me, I'm always looking for resources. I'm
Mhm.
always looking for even gifts. I love to give my spouses when we meet,
Mhm.
even like self-care gifts.
Oh, good.
I actually have somebody from my church and she donates items to me.
Mhm.
And it could be like mirrors or brushes or lotions. So when I do see those caregivers and I have an event, I do little gift bags
That's good.
and I give them to them. So that's what I said when it comes to resources.
Mhm.
That's the part that I love, that it goes beyond just even perhaps the donations
Right.
that are going to be used in a general sense
Mhm.
towards directly where I put them to use.
Right. Well, things like if people wanted to donate a space for you to have an event, if they wanted to give the products to Pamper, like you said, if people want to get free hair, free nails, free massages, doesn't have to be all day. Could be if they feel that generous. Anything that let's talk about women for a minute. Things that women love, even like we love to shop. So maybe if there's places that want to give discounts to certain things, maybe people are in need of food. Maybe if people are in need of getting a ride somewhere, or Uber or whatever it might be to prepay that, whatever it might be, right? So anything, I know for us, what we struggled with were things of, I wanted support. I wanted a group, and that's what you have. You have for the women because, being a spouse. And then also for my husband, having a place to go to be around others that they can heal together.
Yes.
So I'm so grateful that the Wounded Warrior Project is doing these type of things and that people are being changed and feeling a sense of community, right?
Yeah. And I'm very intentional with what I do.
That's good.
It's like very intentional, again, because I was there.
Yeah.
And I don't want anyone else to feel the
Right.
way that I felt.
Right.
So, how the Bible says, to whom much is given, much is expected.
It's good. Yeah.
I am here because of God's grace, His love, and His mercy for me. So I get to give back now from what He has gifted me.
Yeah, and there's no doubt you've touched so many lives. And I know you have said in previous conversations, you have people calling you a lot and,
Yes.
wanting some, wisdom, some prayers, some encouragement through that. So I'm grateful that you're there for them and helping in this manner that we're so needed. That piece is so needed. So once again, I don't know if a lot of people know about this, but I hope they will check it out. And, those who want to volunteer, it's so needed. It's so needed to even just to donate and such. Money's not bad, but also, like we said, other things are also very good.
Yes.
So how has the involvement in this project impacted you personally?
So from the very beginning, it started with another organization that is worth mentioning just because they were kind of like that catalyst. Project Sanctuary.
Huh.
It was the first retreat that I attended as a family. I felt like we needed to reconnect. There was so much pain. Everything in our lives was just like sadness and pain. And at that time, I'm like, we need to reconnect. And this opportunity came to go to North Carolina. It was a family retreat. And there was a social worker. And they opened it up to, if anybody wants to talk, we're going to be here. And I was hesitated. I'm like, should I tell people my business or do we just keep hiding it and pretend like everything is good when I'm just broken inside? So I did. At that time, my husband could not remember anything, so I could not leave him alone. And he asked me that question, what do you like? And I had no answer. I said, I have no idea. But then he asked, what did you like before this all happened? And I said, you know what? I used to do CrossFit. I said, I used to do CrossFit. That was my outlet. I said, it was the 1 hour I had to myself. And I can't do that anymore. And it was too expensive. You see, my husband could not work. I couldn't work. It was too expensive. And he said, what if I paid for a 6-month membership for you to go to CrossFit?
Oh, wow.
That was it. He had me at that.
Yeah.
I was in tears. I'm like, really? How could somebody do that out of the kindness of their heart? You're going to gift me 6 months? And I sure did. When we got home, he said, I need you to find that closest gym to you and I will pay for it. So I did. I went to the gym, and again, it felt like I felt empowered because it was the 1 hour I had to myself. The 1 hour I was not thinking about no one else's needs, but I was just thinking about surviving the workout. That was like, believe it or not, that was like my outlet at that time. So through that, and somebody in that retreat talked to me about Wounded Warrior Project.
Oh, wow.
So I signed up for Wounded Warrior Project. I went to a retreat of, it was probably only 6 spouses. And we dug deep into an emotional side. Oh my goodness, it's so deep. And then I met other women who were broken like I was. And then we became that support group. So at that time, I didn't feel alone. I'm like, oh, there's more women out there that feel like I do. So we shared laughs, we had fun. Yes, we went deep into our feelings, but we also had some good times, fun times, things that we had not done in a while, that we had forgotten about ourselves. So those were like little, I would say, nuggets and catalysts who were like, okay, here's this piece, here's this other piece. They were like puzzle pieces until they all came together. And it was like, okay, now it's time for you to do something with this. So I started attending more Wounded Warrior events that were just for spouses, connecting with other spouses. And then in the midst of my brokenness, I was also either encouraging or helping or doing something. And that same person that invited me to that one retreat called me, and it was that special phone call that said, how would you like to be of service? And when he said that, it was like, oh my gosh, absolutely yes.
Right.
So I began helping others. And of course, one of my strengths is empathy, compassion. So it's like, yes, that gave me like that extra sense of purpose and vision to be like, okay, I'm here because I want to help others.
That's great.
So, yeah.
That's perfect, because a lot of people who are in the military and come out lose what we call identity. They think their identity is a soldier when actually they're more than that.
Oh.
They are, obviously, as Christians, we know that God has that purpose. God has that plan. The plan didn't end when you came out of the military or when you got injured. There's still a plan for their lives, and I'm grateful that people like you are there for them to help them, encourage them. And just want to encourage those who are listening that, if you are interested in this resonates with you or somebody you know, have them go to the website, the Wounded Warrior Project online, and just look at what they have there, contact them, and see what you can do to be part of that. Because you don't have to just be the spouse. You can be somebody, you can help this organization out to help those. Because, there's so many that are hurting. And like we said earlier, the suicide rates are extremely high. So those who are feeling alone and feel like, you lost your identity or you're just struggling, and we just encourage you not to be alone, but to reach out, because they do care. We do care about you. We know there's more for you to do, even though you may not see that at this time, but being able to be real and to be able to open up and to be able to allow yourself to heal not just physically, but emotionally in that transition of being able to experience emotion again is not a bad thing. God created emotion. So I hope that people will reach out. And this is just a great organization. Like I said, I didn't know this, Diana, until you had brought up that you had done this. And so is there anything else you would like for people to know about this organization?
No, I just encourage also that there's a lot of veterans that may not know about that. And as we get so many people moving to this area, that if you do know someone that you share that information, if you know a veteran that is post 9/11, and if it's not Wounded Warrior Project that can help them, they also have the resources to point them to a place where they can get that help that they need. But
that is wonderful.
Yes, but no one should feel that sense of loneliness or hopelessness.
Yes.
And like you were saying, while we're in the military, we assume our identity from the role that we have. And even like I did, like I assumed my identity from the role of being a caregiver and a homeschool mom, when in fact it was far more than that. And now I get to live in that identity. It was a journey. It was a journey and it took work, but now I get to embrace it.
Well, that's great. I love the story. Once again, thank you for joining me today and to share all that you've done about it with the Wounded Warrior Project and about it. And I'm really excited to see how God's going to use you even more and others, coming alongside you and helping this organization and people like yourself to bring hope and healing to others that you yourself have gone through and seen so many lives change. So thank you, Diana, for this. I'm really excited and happy that and God has gifted you and has you in this place to help so many people. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Joy, for even just being interested and just even doing this. So for creating that awareness. So I appreciate you more than you know.
Oh, thanks. And we'll have information about the Wounded Warrior Project on our website. So if people want to come to our site and, just click your site and link to you guys and be able to get engaged and participate.
Thank you so much, Joy. I appreciate that.
Thank you for listening. For more information, visit www.suicideloss.org. That's suicideloss.org. This presentation was not intended as a substitute for professional care. Please see a counselor or physician for your individual needs. Subscribe and like so that you never miss an episode.